sportswire.com. This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? It is game day on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Our first night for the WST 4-game pack. Jets Kings tonight, 7 p.m. Canada Life Center. Cannot wait. Going to be a real fun show. And listen, this game tonight, Dubois' return. The return the Jets got for Pierre-Luc Dubois will pretty much dominate the program. We're going to get the latest on the Kings, Dubois' start, and, of course, the new members of the Winnipeg Jets with our old pal Dennis Bernstein down in SoCal with the fourth period. And then Mike McIntyre from the Winnipeg Free Press will join us post-morning skate. We'll sort of hear what many of the parties have had to say about this matchup and get ready for a big one tonight. Going to be real fun and great to have you all with us today on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Shout out to everyone live on YouTube. Hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already. And big thanks to the podcast listeners that are making a point of having some Winnipeg Sports Talk content as part of their day. Going to be great. As I say, we'll get into this game momentarily when I bring Michael Remis in. But just right off, want to thank everyone that jumped on with us and will be joining us tonight. Really, really excited to see you all there. Don't forget, the doors at the Hargrave Skywalk entrance is where you get the early entry. Those doors will open at 5. We've sort of said that 5:30 is sort of when we'll be there and we'll get together with everyone. So if you get there a little bit early, just head over to the bar outside 316. I think it's called the Whiskey Cavern or
Whiskey Hangar.
Whiskey Hangar, excuse me. Thank you, Remis. So that is where we'll be before the game. And if you just have tickets for this game, if you're a season ticket holder, if you have a mini pack and this is part of your package, more than welcome to come by and hang out with the Winnipeg Sports Talk crew. Would love to see you there. And come ready to have a good time. Throw your jerseys on and let's kick this off right, hopefully with a big win for the home team. One other thing, have had some questions about the drink voucher that is going to be in your app. Now, I haven't seen it. I'm not sure when these goes in or if they're in. I've had a couple questions about it. Just rest assured, join us at that point before the game. We'll all be there. If there are any issues with the app, we will have a voucher for you, or hell, I'll buy it for you ourselves. Don't worry about it, though. That will all be taken care of. We've got some great people at the Jets helping us out with all of this. So game on. We'll see you tonight, right around 5:30 in the Whiskey Hangar outside section 316. Bring your voices and let's get loud tonight. Big thanks to all of our sponsors that make this show happen. Of course, great working with the Jets on this package, as well as our friends at Princess Auto, Coolbet Canada, Little Brown Jug. I have a feeling we're going to see a few generics and 1919s in section 316 tonight. Our friends at Consolidated Supply, Royal Sports, Boston Pizza. Good night at BP last night with my pal Carter Chen, the king of content of Winnipeg. We sampled some of the new BP Appies last night. It was great and pretty wild game, as expected, between those two teams, both trying to give it away to each other. Also want to thank Vita Health, Wallace & Wallace, F Apparel, Nick and Nicky DQ, Canadian Club, Canada's favorite Canadian whiskey, Manitoba Battery, Aquatech, and the gang over at Modern Man Barbershop. All right, let's get this show on the road. Michael Remis, what is going on?
I'm just here, looking at my signs that we're bringing to the game tonight. Here, thank you, PL. Everyone says thank you, PL.
It's nice of you to acknowledge his name is now not Pierre-Luc, and it's not PLD. It's just PL. PL Dubois.
I told my dad who printed them. He's like, I think you made a mistake. It says PL. I'm like, no, Dad, that's his name now. He goes by PL, not PLD. So thank you, PL. Their two biggest shows, Winnipeg Sports Talk history. The day after Pat Brisson went on TV and said Montreal's a place he'd like to play, and the day he got traded, we hit over 1,000 live viewers. So thank you. I don't think we'd be where we are. We wouldn't be able to get to 10K subs on YouTube if it wasn't for him. So we're appreciative of everything he's done.
We had not one but 2 seasons of Dubois drama. We even had a logo for it.
Yeah.
So listen, PL definitely, and everything that surrounded his time here in Winnipeg has certainly been something that we are appreciative of. Gave us lots to talk about for a while.
Yep.
And I think, Remis, if you asked most Winnipeg Jet fans, certainly the ones that are with us in chat right now, or the ones that'll be there tonight, I think people are pretty thankful for Pierre-Luc Dubois for another reason. The reason being the 3 Kings that came over in the trade that Kevin Cheveldayoff was able to pull off. And I mean, all 3 of these guys have looked great so far this season. Gabriel Villardi, playing on the Jets' top line with Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele, which has had a great start to the season. Alex Iafallo riding with Adam Lowry, not to mention Power Play 1. And Rasmus Kupari, who, for my money, has been one of the more pleasant surprises of the season. Wasn't too sure what we'd get from Rasmus, but some great wheels. Has done a good job on the PK with Morgan Barron, and, of course, set up Morgan Barron for a big goal on Saturday in the home opener against the Florida Panthers. By the way, just seeing in chat that I believe Randy D just said, just had an update from the Jets 360 app. Vouchers will be uploaded shortly. So chill, everyone. Don't worry about it. We've got it all under control. The thing that we need most from you is to come ready to bring it tonight. But I mean, all 3, we're all going to be talking about PLD all show, and he'll be a center of attention tonight. But Remo, this is going to be a big, big game for this hockey team, the home team, I say, as well as the 3 guys that were traded by the LA Kings. And I can pretty much guarantee you that there's going to be some money on the board tonight in that Jet locker room.
Yeah, PL was asked who's going to take a run at him, and he joked Nikolai Ehlers. And I do want to give a shout out to a couple of people in chat, Huss. Dane says, PLD drama brought me here. See, it's all about the YouTube search and thumbnails. Welcome,
right on,
Dane. And Dietermeister says, how about a sign Villardi is better? And so here we go. We're all set. We're all set.
Right there?
Right here, Dietermeister. We're all set. We're all set. I thought of everything. And I think that those guys are definitely fan favorites. And for the Jets, I mean, 2 big points in the standings. You've played really well for 2 games. You know, I posted the video separately of you and Dave Poulin, and I was about to make the title, Dave Poulin on the Jets 2-0 start, because they've played so well. But no, I had to correct myself. They're actually 1-1, and you'd like to see them continue playing the same way. They'll say it's just another game, but I don't think PL has a ton of fans here, Huss. Marat did the deep dive on him, and people take it kind of personally how he didn't want to sign here long term, but sorry, I'm looking at our Twitter mentions. Didn't want to sign here long term, and I think people took it personally, and took it personally, I think more so how vocal his agent was, Pat Brisson, at going on TV in Montreal saying, hey, Montreal's a place he'd like to play, hey, and then we all had fun with it. So thankfully, Kevin Cheveldayoff was able to make a trade that was beneficial for both sides, and it wasn't like every Montreal fan in our mentions all summer saying, oh, they're going to trade Dubois for a bag of pucks, and he's ours for free. Because I think every Montreal fan thought he was going there for zero.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the stuff we heard from the delusional Habs fans was fuel for WST and for Jet fans. But I'm sort of with Julian Labossiere in chat. The chat has to be best trade ever. I think we can get behind that one tonight. And now things are getting crazy. Dan Jets fan, I expect Scheif will pick a fight with PL. Dane Bjornsson, 55 versus 80 fight would be so sick, actually. I don't think that Mark Scheifele, as engaged as he has been in these first two games, is going to make a habit of dropping the gloves. Although he did it in the preseason, and he did it again in the home opener. So I guess we can't rule anything out. But, Reem, the best way that Mark Scheifele can contribute to helping his team is to continue playing the way he has out of the gate in these first two games, along with Gabe Vilardi, and maybe a couple nice dishes to 13 to score against his old team would be perfect for tonight. Far better than any sort of a fight with Pierre-Luc Dubois.
We need a 13 goal tonight, Huss. Need to hear Macarena on WST night, and he's had so many chances, Huss. He's only got one assist in 2 games. I'm surprised to see that stat line. You look at who's on pace for what? Kyle Connor, on pace for 164 points, Huss? 4 points in 2 games, 3 goals, 1 assist. Mark Scheifele, not too bad either. He's got 3 points, 2 goals, 1 assist. So, the top guys off to a hot start, and it would be nice to see Gabe Vilardi score against his former team, or Alex Iafallo, who had a really nice goal in game 1, and Kupari got on the board the other day. I'm curious how that's going to work, and we'll have to see how Dubois matches up against the Jets. I think he started on third line center, but Daily Faceoff has him now on the second line with Kevin Fiala and Laferriere, and Phil Deneau is with Trevor Moore and Carl Grenstrom on the third line.
Yeah, we'll get into all of that coming up. The chat is hilarious right now. Dieter Meister, the game sponsor is Home Depot tonight. There's been tons of Home Depot blasts coming over the internet lately, and I like this. I love this idea from Cruiser. I'll send it up the line. They should play "Hey Baby" when Dubois takes a penalty today.
He is known
his penalty song.
I want.
Oh, and PLD's in chat. Hey baby, nap time. See you later, fans. Great to see PLD popping back into the chat.
Great to see PL in chat. A lot of jokes being made today. A lot of people coming up with creative chants. I'm sure we'll see some tonight. It does kind of give me flashbacks. We've had games here before in Winnipeg, but I remember going to a Raptors game where they were playing the New Jersey Nets, and it was so much fun because we booed Vince Carter every single time he touched the ball. And I had a lot of fun at that game. And I think people are saying, oh, don't boo him, ignore. And I think people want to go and have a good time. And I think people do take it personally. Look at Murat's article. A lot of varying comments. PL trying to clear the air on why he left, and didn't seem like, why he didn't want to stay long term. Wasn't anything against Winnipeg. He seemed to have a great time here. Got a lot of friends, but he was just attracted the very bright lights of an international city in LA or something else, and he ended up signing there. So I actually thought we'll talk more with Murat about the game and putting that article together.
Yeah, I enjoyed. I mean, listen, Murat is such a talented writer. I think he did a great job at trying to, put together everything that Dubois had to say about the saga of being here. But I'm just going to say it right off. The Jets are better off without that guy. They are better off with the players that came here, that have bought in, that have been contributing right now to help this team get off to a nice start. And like Rick Bowness said, we don't want guys that don't want to be here. I think part of the team over the last couple of years, and listen, there was a vibe from a few players, not all of them for sure, but there's nothing that pisses Winnipeggers off more than being told that, or being the insinuation that, we're lucky to have these guys here, that they're willing to play here. It's a freaking NHL job right now. This is one of 32 teams in the best league in the world. I mean, you hear it and it is cliche, but it is a privilege to play in the National Hockey League. And yeah, I get it. The way that things are set up, you sort of have there is an element of choice for players as they get to a certain point in their career. Dubois didn't want to wait. And listen, I mean, you read the article, you knew that, and I think going back, it's pretty clear that this guy was here not for a long time and not even a particularly good time while he was here. This team is better off without him. I mean, I don't harbor any ill will against him. I don't hope that he sucks for the LA Kings and they invested $8.5 million for 8 years for a guy that disappears all the time and, looks great one game and then you can't find him for a couple. But hey, that's their choice. They've done it. Kevin Cheveldayoff, I think, made an incredible deal for this hockey club. And I've loved Gabriel Velarde, Alex Iafallo, and Rasmus Kupari, and all those guys are going to be fired up for this one tonight.
Yeah, I think so. And I'll just share this. Murat, I texted him. I'm like, you're coming on the show Wednesday yet? And I said, enjoyed your article on PL. Thanks. He says, any hot takes? And I just weighed in with this about Murat. He said, he seemed like a guy, didn't buy into the NHL system of the draft and 7 years of control and wanted to pick where he played, which was clearly wanted to play in a big international city. And I just said to Murat, I said, I think most fans think players should feel lucky to even be in the NHL, making six figures to play a game. But hey, we all get to choose our employer and where we live. And, 90% of players, probably more, are fine, with whatever system the NHL has. But there's, in any group of any sample size, there's going to be a couple who say, you know what, I want to play where I want to play. And, maybe the way he went about it with his agent, trying to stir the pot there on TV, I think you can take objection to that. But I can't fault a guy for, having his mindset on where he wants to play and wanting to control your own destiny.
So. That being said, I don't want that guy. I mean, if I'm a coach, if I'm a GM, if I'm a fan, I want guys that want to be there. I want to be part of the team that care about, not about themselves and about, there's no restaurants as good as Nobu in this city. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, you get paid very, very well to do a job, and that's to go out and do everything you can to help your team win hockey games. And if all you're concerned with, and I'm not saying that's all that he was concerned with. There was times where he played very well for the Winnipeg Jets. Other times where he was invisible. And just look at the Vegas series. I mean, the difference from game 1 to game 5 in that guy. But again, I mean, we don't need to go over it. Everyone knows the story.
Yeah.
I mean, and people really wanted him to stay. People thought that, I mean, when you think about what the Jets gave up to get him, but a guy in Patrick Laine that still has a ton of fans, myself included, in this city. The fact that they made that deal, he came here, never really bought into the city, the organization, as much as he says he did, or was there for the time being. You know what? As I say, this was a move. I mean, the pressure was on Kevin Cheveldayoff to pull off a deal that made sense for the Winnipeg Jets, and early returns have been fantastic. And listen, if that continues, we'll always be thankful for PLD's time here because of what it did for the Winnipeg Jets. But I think that team on the ice is in a better place. I certainly think the team in the locker room is in a better place. The fan base is in a better place going into this game tonight. And yeah, there's going to be a little extra oomph in the crowd tonight, not just from Section 316 and the WSD crew, to give them the business a little bit, but most importantly, hopefully see the Winnipeg Jets come out with a win. Honestly, Remis, I always do this at the start of the year, when we're going through, with season ticket partners and whatnot of splitting up the games. You rank the games that should be the best games of the year, the best crowds, Friday, Saturday nights, those sort of things. I also put together, a list of my top 3 or top 5 games that I just desperately want the Jets to win. This is a clear number 1 on the entire schedule. Get this win tonight. Do it for the guys that are now Winnipeg Jets. Do it for the fans that are going to come out to support the home team, and give it to a guy that didn't want to be here. Send everybody home happy and send the Jets into a game with the Stanley Cup champions on a 2-game winning streak. This is about getting the win tonight, first and foremost, for Rick Bonus's club.
Yeah, they need a W here, and there's I think part of it too was, Laine is such a fan favorite. It's tough to stomach at the time trading him away for PLD, and he didn't get off to a great start here after sitting in quarantine for 2 weeks eating DeLucas and coming back and having injury. Anyways, time to move on. The Jets need to get the 2 points win against LA. And as far as lineup changes, there are none. The Jets, it's kind of been the first time in a while where no one's been hurt. Don't have Ehlers. No one's got the flu. Everyone out there for practice. And so we're going to see the same, Connor Scheifele, Velarde, Niederreiter, Perfetti, Ehlers, IFL, Lowry, Appleton, Barron, Kupari, Nemestikov. No changes on D, Morrissey, DeMello, Sandberg, Pionk, Dylan Schmidt, Hellebuck, and goal. And Bones was asked yesterday, we're saying, okay, well, we're 3 games in. When is Brossoit going to get in? And he said sooner than later. I do wonder if they start him Thursday against his former team, Vegas.
Guaranteed. To be honest, I think that if it wasn't the Vegas Golden Knights here on Thursday, I think he probably goes tonight. But they'll go with Hellebuck tonight in this game against the Los Angeles Kings, and then we'll see LB's return to the starting. I would be stunned if he doesn't play against Vegas on Thursday, and then you'll probably see it go back to Hellebuck for the game Saturday night in Edmonton on Hockey Night in Canada. So yeah, things. Listen, there's a great buzz around the Jets Nation about this game tonight, and for all the reasons that we've mentioned. You know what? Let's. We got Dennis Bernstein. Was he coming up in about 5 or so, Reem?
Yeah, I think he should be here pretty soon.
Okay, well let's hear the clip from Adam Lowry. We'll try and get Bones a little later on, but here's what the captain of the Winnipeg Jets had for you for this one tonight.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a mixed reaction, obviously. I think people will be upset. They almost take it a little personally because of, him not deciding to want to stay long term. As teammates and friends, there's no hard feelings. We certainly respect his decision, and we're really happy with the guys we got back in return. So, I'm sure there'll be a nice tribute, and hopefully he gets a round of applause that he deserves. He was a great player for us for a few years, and we wish him nothing but the best with the Kings.
Listen, there's the captain, Adam Lowry. And at the end, he said all the right things that you would want to do for a former teammate that I'm sure they're friends with and whatnot. But what he said at the start was key. He said, it'll be a quote, mixed reaction, and that a lot of people will take it personally. And you know what? I think everybody wants their hockey team to be a reflection of the city and the fans that they play for. I'd love to see the Jets play like they took it personally tonight, and and bring their best foot forward against a very good LA team, regardless of who's on the ice at any particular time. Really looking forward to bringing on DB in a second to get the latest on the Los Angeles Kings. But hey, I want to shout out our friends at Modern Man Barbershop. Of course, Modern Man has 8 locations now in the city of Winnipeg, including their newest locations on either Pembina Highway. Guys, they've got haircuts, beard shaping, shaves, color services, and more. You can book your look via modernmanbarber.com and make an appointment at any of the 8 locations. Give them a follow on Instagram as well at Modern Man Barbershops. And by the way, WSTers, if any of you guys are mustache guys, Movember is coming up. Remis and I are very, very poor stash growers, but we do want to put together a bit of a WST squad to help raise some money, raise some awareness. So we're going to be doing that with Modern Man. So if you're thinking about taking part in Movember, we'll try and get a few incentives for the people that are on the WST team. But maybe fire us a message, an email, or hit us up via any of the social channels if you're interested in being part of Team WST for Movember. Obviously, that's coming up next month. Let us know, winnipegsportstalk@gmail.com. Shout out to our friends at Aquatech as well. Pool season's over, at least here. Maybe not in LA. But that Aquatech has an amazing history of whole home renovations. With thousands of rentals as their foundation, Aquatech can upgrade any space in your home. If you're ready to enhance your kitchen, bathroom, or even add a man cave to your home, visit aqua-tech.ca to learn more about their whole home renovations, including financing options. And hey, with the winter just around the corner, listen, we had great summer fun, and Manitoba Battery powered it all with the best prices in town and the best service on your batteries. for your boats and your campers and your lawn tractors. Obviously, the snow will be coming. You'll be getting out on sleds and skidoos and whatnot. But the bottom line is getting through the Manitoba winter. You got to make sure you've got a battery ready for what is to come. Manitoba Battery can test your battery for free if you want to pop by at 1026 Logan Avenue. But if you do need a new car or truck battery, get the best price in town, beating the pants off the big box stores. And the best service is not only will you be getting the best price, but they'll deliver it to you for free anywhere in the city of Winnipeg for any purchase over $60. It's just that easy. Get on over, order online at manitobabattery.com. If you want to give Donnie and the gang a call, 783-8787 to arrange that as well, or pop by and see him in person at Manitoba Battery at 1026 Logan Avenue. And hey, a big cheers to everyone that's coming out tonight with the WST crew for our first game of the 4-game pack. We'll cheers you with the little CC, Canada's favorite Canadian whiskey. Maybe have a few at the Bomber game coming up on Saturday. Of course, Canadian Club is the official spirit of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. So the Rum Hut will be rocking, the CC will be flowing, and of course, Canadian Club and Ginger Ale also available at Investors Group Field. And you can pick up all the Canadian Club products at your local Manitoba liquor marts and look for CC and Ginger in cans at your local beer store as well. All right, we've been counting down ever since the schedule came out and the trade was made to tonight, the Los Angeles Kings coming in for Game 3 of the regular season. And listen, we love bringing this guest on at any time to talk hockey, but especially when the Kings and Jets are going at it. Dennis Bernstein of the Fourth Period joins us. DB, what is up? How are you?
Doing great, Hustler. And yes, it's not pool season is not over in Los Angeles quite yet. It's never really over, to be honest. But
that's great. This is a city we focus on hockey here in the winter, Dennis. You know, I know certain players can spend their pool time. They can go to Nobu. We're about winning hockey games here in the Peg. And hey, this is a big one tonight. And I don't think there would be many sweeter wins all year than this one. Tell us about Dubois' first few weeks in Los Angeles. How did camp go for him? And how's the season started for number 80?
Camp's going great. He got a free trip to Australia, bonding with his teammates. I went over as well. What a great country, Hustler. You know, the NHL is not going to do that just one time, right? It's a trial balloon. David Proper, who's head of NHL International, was over. It was a great time. He's acclimated okay. His first 2 games has not been an impact player at all. Right? Hasn't got a point. Is still trying to find a way. Now, there's a mitigating circumstance here because all preseason, it was Fiala, Dubois, and Kaliev. Kaliev in the last preseason game took a dumb kneeing penalty. Chase DeLeo's out for the Ducks for 6 weeks, wound up getting suspended. So Kaliev, because of the injury to Victor Arvidsson, is now playing with Deneau and more. That's probably what you'll see tonight. So it'll be Fiala, Dubois, and Laferriere, a rookie from Harvard that the Kings really like. But he's been okay. He's paid, 18 minutes a night, about 40% on faceoffs, which nobody expected any more from him. But he's still trying to find his way. And not only that, Fiala can be a unique type of player to build chemistry with. So Kings have to be patient, but again, they love what they have down the middle in Dubois, Deneau, and Kopitar, and Lazard as well. So it's been a work in progress. I think a fair estimation of what he can do will probably come by game 15 or 20.
You know, it's funny you bring up Fiala, because I've always thought that Fiala had some similarities to Nikolai Ehlers in the way that he plays. Yes. A fast player, a great puck control, dynamic offensively, but sometimes unpredictable and maybe a little more difficult to play with. And man, they tried to play Dubois with Ehlers together for a long, long time. And in a lot of ways, it just didn't really click. And I am very interested if they go with this and McClellan rides with this for a while, how long it might take for them to really feel comfortable together. And then you add in Laferriere, who, for all accounts, has been kind of one of the revelations of camp and one of the best stories around the Kings. It often doesn't just happen overnight, and that's what the Kings will be hoping will happen, but sometimes it's not that easy.
Yeah, it's not that easy 2 games in, but I expect, as Todd McClellan does, this team's going to score a lot of goals, Hustler, regardless. And people are kind of minimizing the loss of Arvidsson and saying, they needed a goalie. Arvidsson was a 60-point player last season. He was second in power play goals on the team. he's a playmaker. They're definitely going to miss him. So the fact that they shifting around Kaliev and Laferriere, who probably would still be in the minors if Victor was totally healthy, it's a major, major impact for this team. But I do expect them to score a lot of goals. I think PLD and Fiala will find a way. But Fiala, look, he can be Todd's favorite player some nights and Todd's least favorite players other nights. And certainly the other night when he made a couple of unforced errors, they gave up 2 shorthanded goals. So, again, this team is trying to find its way defensively. I think they score a lot of goals. But I go back to last season. First 10 games, the Kings were 5-5. They gave up 41 goals in 10 games. You saw more of the same. But remember, the quality of the competition the Kings opened up against. The NHL didn't do them any favors, Hustler. They opened up against Colorado and Carolina. And this will be certainly a trying game because of the emotion that'll be at Canada Life Center tonight. But PLD, look, he's got a long-term contract. He's happy here. He's driving around. You probably saw behind the glass. He's driving around in a golf cart, Manhattan Beach, got paid for 7 years. He's happy. So we'll see. But he does have to be productive. But I get the criticisms. When I mentioned PLD in training camp, a lot of people from Winnipeg saying, well, he might be great for 50 games, but the other 20 games, he won't be so great. That's the price you pay. It's a matter of consistency with him. I think he'll find a way with Fiala. The question is who's going to be that third member of that line. Is it going to be Kaliev? Is it going to be Laferriere if he does emerge as a rookie?
Well, Dennis, I mean, the price is paid by the Kings, and it was a high price at $8.5 million a year on that max extension. It was also a heavy price in what they gave up to get Pierre-Luc Dubois. And I can tell you, you won't find many Jet fans, maybe any Jet fans, that haven't been very, very happy with what Balharry, Iafallo, and Kupari have done so far. How much are those guys missed in the LA lineup right now?
They aren't missed yet. Here's how I looked at it. Right? Iafallo's a solid guy. He's a quality guy, 200-foot player. Has one more year on his deal, $4 million. But he, to me, is the equivalent of Trevor Moore. And I like Trevor Moore. He's a little bit younger. He had great chemistry with Deneau and Arvidsson. So that was kind of excess right there. Kupari, here in LA, he was going to be a fourth-line center. Maybe he emerges to be the 3C eventually in Winnipeg, but I don't see enough offense in his game to say, okay, he could be a top 6 player. The trade is basically Dubois for Balharry. And Balharry was a revelation. He finally was healthy. He had scored 23 goals, was an impact player. But you know what? I think what Broad Blake saw, Tussle, was you win down the middle. And you look at what Vegas did last season with their strength down the middle. They need to go pound for pound with Vegas. They need to go pound for pound with Edmonton that has Connor and Leon in the middle. They want to focus on that. And not only that, they liked this player when he was in Columbus. So it wasn't just – this was a pursuit that was basically 2 years. And I keep going back. I talked to – he's not longer a member of the organization, but remember King's organization said if Columbus had wanted futures back in the day, they would have got to Dubois 2 years ago. But they wanted a proven player. They got one in Patrick Laine, and that's why Dubois wound up in Winnipeg. This is a pursuit that they really feel this is the type of guy that eventually can overtake Kopitar for the 1C, because at this point, Quentin Byfield, who they thought would be the 1C in the future, has a home on left wing, and he doesn't look like the productive goal scorer you need to be in the middle. So I get the trade. I understand it. And Winnipeg fans should be happy for the reasons of they got quality players. And you're right. He didn't want to be there. He wasn't going to sign there. So to get 3 guys knowing that the player wasn't going to sign long-term, good on Chevy for making that deal. And hopefully it's part of a nucleus that can, be a playoff contender for Winnipeg.
Well, I mean, listen, the team overall, I mean, I know you're probably taking a look at some of the analytic numbers from the start of the season. I mean, they lost the game in Calgary somehow. I mean, that was a tough pill to swallow for the way that they played, but they continued doing it against Florida and are clearly atop that list, albeit through 2 games, so take it with a grain of salt. But bottom line is the teams look great, and they've looked as deep as they have at any point since the 17-18 season. And that, I think, is what Iafallo and Kupari in particularly have brought. I mean, Balharry's fit in so well with Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele, and he's the sort of a player, like his ability to win puck battles, his stick, his smarts has perfectly complemented those players just with keeping the puck in the offensive zone a little more often, giving it to those guys, and we've seen the results so far. Hot starts for Kyle Connor and for Mark Scheifele. But listen, bring it back to Dubois for a minute. And it's great that he's got the golf cart and he can go to all those great locations and sit near movie stars when he's out for dinner. But the commitment that the Kings made to him and the way that he came, the players that they traded, that comes with a significant amount of pressure as well. Listen, I'm sure it's not a complete pressure cooker 2 games into the season, but how would you qualify the expectations for Dubois and the pressure that is on him this season to, come through for them after the commitment that the Kings made to him financially and what they had to give up to get him?
Well, I think there's less pressure on the player, Hustler, because he has his contract. He's going to be here. He wants to be here. He said it was a dream come true. He's always wanted to play. So he said all the right things for LA. I know the people in Winnipeg probably don't want to hear that. He said all the right things here. So there's no pressure. Plus, he's set up to win, Hustle, because you know what? He doesn't have to be the man. Like Kopitar is still the team's leading scorer. You have a great defensive center in Philip Deneau. There's no reason for – I'll submit to you. The pressure is more on a guy like Kaliev, because when you play with PLD and Fiala and you're the third option, you better score goals. So who's ever going to be in that line is going to have pressure because those are 2 creative players. So I think that the pressure of signing a long-term contract, yeah, but it's LA and it's hockey. I'll be frank with you. This is not the Lakers. This is not the Dodgers. So there's not a ton of pressure right now because, again, he's not looked at the man. If he goes 30-30, everybody's going to be happy. He doesn't have to be Connor McDavid. He doesn't have to be Leon Draisaitl. He could be part of a 3-headed monster that teams it'll be hard pressed to defend in the playoffs. That's what they're looking at. They're looking at strength down the middle. They've liked this player for two seasons, but I don't think there's a ton of pressure on him. He's not playing for a contract. You have other quality centers around him. Yeah, is he going to take games off? According to all the people in Winnipeg, he is. So we'll see what happens. And he's playing with the creative player in Fiala. He doesn't have to raise the level of Kevin Fiala. It might be the other way around. Kevin Fiala actually might raise the level of PLD, and if they do, they really struck gold. But again, he doesn't have to be a 40-40 guy. If he's 30-30, if the rest of the team performs as I think they will offensively, they'll be a very dangerous team because remember, they were a top 10 offensive team last season.
Yeah, Dennis Bernstein of the 4th period in LA getting us ready for Jets Kings tonight from the visitors' perspective. Many of us were surprised that he didn't even get a fine for that knee-on-knee hit in game number 1. So he skated on that. Who was the Kings player that went and fought for him in that game? It
was Laferriere. And it was the first game Laferriere played. And if you saw the video, and it's probably on the internet somewhere, his family was in attendance. About 8. Yeah. They went nuts. They went crazy. They couldn't believe more. So yeah. Hustler, I'm like you. I'm like, oh, okay, because I'm reminded of the fact that Kaliev got 2 games for kneeing Chase D'Elia. I'm like going, okay, that looked like a knee on knee. Maybe he would get something. Maybe he'd lose a game, which they really can't afford to do that. Remember, because of the suspension on Kaliev, they had to play with 11-6 opening night against Colorado, something that wasn't optimal. So yeah, Laferriere did stand up for him, and it's not a big physical team. They don't have an enforcer on LA. They're going to be a skilled team. They're not going to grind you down. They don't have a lot of size up front or on the blue line, but PLE does have some size that they needed to be frank up front. So that's how it was. But yeah, I was a little surprised he didn't at least get fined for that hit because that was the start of that fracas in game 2.
I mean, and this is, I was listening. I think it was Elliot Friedman who was talking about the incident and said that he had a few players from around the league kind of mentioned they were a little surprised that it was a rookie that was the guy that was going up and doing and dropping the gloves as opposed to the guy that actually was the culprit when it came to that. But you know what? As I say, the Kings are a fascinating team to me because, they had an option this summer, Dennis. I mean, they realized that they'd love to get better at center.
Yeah.
And they made that move. They kind of went all in to put together one of the deepest and best center lineups in the league at the expense of any proven goaltending right now. I have to ask you about the net mining situation for LA and, do they have another trick up their sleeve if things don't go well with the 2-headed monster they've got in the net right now?
Well, the trick wouldn't be till the trade deadline. So if it did go south with respect to the goaltending, you'd see a scenario like last season when they traded for Korpisalo at the deadline. But nothing's going to happen soon. And I can argue it. They do have a proven – Cam Talbot's proven in this league, right? Maybe you don't like – maybe he's been injured or whatever. Gave up a bad third goal against a superstar in Rantanen that they wanted back. Copley did not have a good game against Carolina. The third goal was just inexcusable at the goal line. It just dribbled in. So yeah, here's the thing: they don't need a superstar net. You know what they need? They need great goaltending, not a great goaltender. Right? They're not going to get, if they make a trade at the deadline, the guy I could think of would be John Gibson, but I don't know how he's going to play this season. So they're going to go with what they have. They want to get 904 save percentage, which is the league average. They believe if they can get the league average out of these guys, that they can win a lot of games. Now, the problem is the first 2 games, their save percentage, I think, is 885. That's not the league average. But I talked to Rob Blake at the draft in Nashville, and their cap space, because of the moves they made, look, this is a one-season thing with respect to Copley and Talbot, or just the money spent in the net and spending $2.5 million in net. I will guarantee you one thing, Hudson. Next season, it won't be $2.5 million in net for the Kings. They will make other moves to get a more quality goaltender if this combination doesn't work. But they have designs on going deep with these 2 guys. So we'll see. They have enough cap space to make a move at the deadline if these guys don't work out. Yeah. And when you look at the first 2 games, I know some King fans are, already heading for the exits with respect to the goal. It's 2 games out of 82, and you played 2 quality teams. Let's see game 10. Let's see game 20. Let's see where they stand. But in the short term, Hustler, these are the 2 guys. Maybe David Rich. Maybe one guy plays so poorly, you would waive Talbot or Copley, and then David Reddish, who actually had the best preseason of any of the 3, might get a recall. But is Big Save Dave going to be your answer down the stretch? Maybe for one season. But again, this is a one-season plateau with respect to how they're doing the goaltending. And I suspect next season you'll probably see $5 or $6 million in net somehow. The cap's going to go up. Maybe they make some other moves as well.
I heard the mayor talking earlier about Big Save Dave and Copley and potentially swapping them for cap space. How tight are the Kings right now on the cap, and how's that affecting them with their ability to operate day to day through suspensions and injuries?
Well, before the injury to Arvidsson, it was a challenge, right? They were at 11-6, and they couldn't carry 3 goaltenders. So Rittich got away, and they were concerned because they figured that maybe a team like Tampa might be interested in picking up save. The fact that Arvidsson's now on long-term injury reserve, and he's going to have back surgery, and again, that's the second time in 3 seasons. That's probably a long healing process. They have cap space now, so they're going to operate with 12-6 tonight for the foreseeable future. So it hurt them in the combination of the injury plus the suspension, and the suspension to Kaliev hurt even more because he was on the roster as a cap hit. So that was part of the challenge. Do I see Rittich play? I don't see Rittich play until probably 15 or 20, like last season. That's what happened with Copley last season. Quick and Paterson didn't do the job early on. The Kings said, we're a playoff team. We need to fix this. They recalled Copley. He did a really solid job. Wasn't the guy in the playoffs. Could that happen again? It could. But again, I'm not making that move at game 2, game 5, game 10. When we get to American Thanksgiving, you're 20 games in and your save percentage is 885, then maybe Big Save Dave would be an option at that point.
DB, tell us about the defense core right now. I mean, obviously led by Drew Doughty, a few younger players. And what about Gavrikov? I mean, they got him last year at the deadline. He's now with the club going forward. How's the blue line shaping up for the Kings early in the season?
Hustle, everybody talks about the Dubois move, but the really important move was bringing back Gavrikov on the left side, because they don't. Toby Bjornfort, a former first-round pick, he's a 7 defenseman in this league. I think I've been a big critic. He just doesn't do anything. He doesn't move the needle. They signed Andreas England, another bottom pair left defenseman. They needed him to come back to play underneath Mikey Anderson on the left side. That was a key move for them. So the top 4 is solid, right? Matt Roy's had an underrated season. I think he had 9 goals last year. Doughty and Anderson, great pair together, big minutes eaters. The opportunity now is, when you play, if you're a Jet fan, you're saying, okay, we can beat that third pair, because the third pair is going to probably be Andreas England and now Jordan Spence, who, big fuss was made over Jordan when he went over to Australia because he was born in Australia. So they made but he only lived there for like 6 months as an infant. So that's the bottom pair. And Jordan Spence is going to run their second unit power play, is a right hit shot defenseman. See, the first game they had Bjornfot and England on the bottom pair, 2 left shots, which really doesn't work. So Jordan Spence is the guy, as a rookie. He quit himself well 2 seasons ago, didn't get an opportunity last season, but when they traded Sean Dursey and Sean Walker, it opened the door for Jordan Spence. So their third pair, their top 4 is solid. The third pair, well, we're all day to day. So is the third pair with respect to LA.
One guy that's not in the lineup that I'll be honest, I kind of expected to be was Brandt Clarke. And, I was listening to that bit I mentioned with the mayor, and he sort of said that there may be some things going on off the ice with Clarke. And he said it was sort of weird that it was Rob Blake that announced that he wouldn't be going on the trip because this is a really, really talented young player that they've got high hopes for. Is he taking a step back going into year 2 and he was sort of expected? And is it a surprise that he's not on the club, I guess?
I think a little bit of surprise, but when you look at the right side of the defense, it's Doughty and Roy. Now, maybe next season that changes because Roy's in his walk year, and they say maybe around Christmas they might talk to him, but maybe not. So Spence and Clarke will be your right side defenders. If Clarke still needs to play, Hustler. And if he was going to be their 7th defenseman, because I think right now Jordan Spence is a little ahead of him defensively, and you need some defensive presence, then Clarke is a star of the future. They love what he has. He's 20 years old, so he can afford. Still needs to play. So to have him up here as the 7th defenseman not playing doesn't make any sense for LA. So Jordan Spence is a little bit ahead of the curve right now with respect to Brandt Clarke. So I wouldn't be worried about it. I don't think there's anything off ice going on. He just needs to play, and we'll see what happens. But right now, he is not the option on the third pair. Jordan Spence is, and he's earned that spot. Jordan Spence was one of the best defensemen. So aside what you might think about what's going on with Clarke, Spence was one of the best defensemen in training camp. He deserves to be up here, and I'll start tonight on the third pair.
Dennis, I have to ask you, just early on in this season, you mentioned that the Kings, had lost to the Avs and lost to the Hurricanes, and given up plenty of goals in the meantime. How good did those teams look? The Hurricanes didn't look very good in Anaheim. I will say that much. But did those teams both look like legit Cup contenders to you when you saw them play LA?
Considering I picked them to go to the Cup final, yes. And here's the thing about Colorado. When McKinnon, Mikko, and Makar score in games, you're going to win those games. They look really good. The question is, I think their second line with Drouin and Johansson, is that going to be enough? I really like what they did on the bottom 6, bringing in Miles Wood. So they look dangerous. Yeah, look, Carolina's given up too many goals. Is that going to happen over 82 games? No. I like them. I pick them to win the Cup. They still look dangerous. And if they score 5 goals, which people didn't think they would against LA, they're 2 quality teams. The thing with LA, so I'll leave you with this, 7 of their first 9 are against last year playoff qualifiers. This is not an easy path in October, including tonight. This is going to be, from the emotions going to be in the building, this is going to be a difficult game for LA as well.
Well, and you know what I mean? Very similar with the Jets. I mean, they had that big win against Florida, but you got the Kings tonight, Vegas on Thursday.
Yep.
A trip to Edmonton on Saturday, and then back to play to take on the Blues. I mean, a big game to continue their good start. And I think we're going to see a lot of emotion in the building tonight and a couple teams that are very desperate for 2 points. Dennis, always great having you on the program. Enjoy this one tonight. Let's do this again soon.
Absolutely, Hustle. Always great being on Winnipeg Sports Talk with you. Thanks for the time.
Right on. There it is. Dennis Bernstein. I give him and the Fourth Period a follow. Great stuff for the entire National Hockey League, not just the Kings, but Dennis always our go-to guy when LA comes to town. All right, we are looking forward to seeing Mike McIntyre in a minute. Again, don't forget tonight, folks. If you don't have tickets and you weren't able to get a WST a ticket pack, you can still show up and join us tonight. We'll be in 316 at the Whiskey Hangar around 5:30 before the game. Come on down, enjoy the pregame festivities, warm up, and then we'll get loud for it tonight. And don't forget Vegas Golden Knights here on Thursday. A quick one-game roadie, and then back next Tuesday for Super Tuesday in the NHL, where all 32 teams are going to be playing, and all games are staggered by 15 minutes. Jets and Blues goes at 7:45 next Tuesday. So grab your tickets and let's see you down at the rink. Do want to thank our friends at Vita Health Fresh Market. Folks, if you're looking for great prices on natural and organic supplements, beauty products, groceries, and Winnipeg's largest selection of local products too, there's only one place to go. Or 6, in fact, one of 6 Vita Health Fresh Market stores. You can also check out them online and order online at their fully shoppable website. If you get your order in by 11 o'clock, you'll get your order that day. And right now, get a free gift when you place an order for $100 or more. at myvita.ca. And don't forget, Health First Ashwagandha Supreme is on sale all month, known for its stress-lowering effects, as well as reducing mental stress, anxiety, cortisol levels, and even stress-related food cravings. On sale all month at Vita Health Fresh Market, empowering people to lead healthy lives. 6 Winnipeg locations and online at myvita.ca. Big shout out to the gang at Wallace & Wallace. They're the fencing experts in town and have been since the 1940s. What you might not know is they're also the leaders in overhead doors. As the Clopay dealer with the largest selection of overhead garage doors to get something that's right for your home. Again, that garage door had lots of ups and downs this summer, but it's about to work a whole lot harder because winter puts much more stress on a garage door. The right time to prevent downtime this winter is now. Give Wallace & Wallace a call to book your inspection and maintenance service. Call today for residential and commercial overhead door sales and service. There's only one name or two you need to know, and that is Wallace & Wallace. And hey, I know we'll see some of the fellas from the media, I'm sure, pop by tonight. They'll all be looking good. They're throwing the suits on. We'll have the jerseys on. But if you do need to up your menswear game and get one of those suits, your best place to do it is at F Apparel. Frankly, for all your menswear choices, they've got custom suits beginning at $400, along with chinos, golf pants, dress pants, custom shirts, both tucked and untucked styles, an incredible selection of menswear accessories. And by the way, guys, if you are tying the knot or in a wedding party, make sure to talk to the guys at F Apparel about a 15% discount when the wedding party gets their suits at F Apparel. Pop by and see them in person, 190 Smith Street. And your best bet is to check them out online, and you can make an appointment to come in for a fitting at EPHapparel.com. All right. Let's get to it. Mike Mack joins us now from the Winnipeg Free Press. Mike, how are you? Great to have you back on the program. Excited to see what we get tonight at Canada Life Centre.
I am still with the Winnipeg Free Press, Huss, contrary to what our friends over at TSN attributed this morning. I don't know if you saw. They used my Rick Bonus comment from yesterday about Pierre-Luc Dubois, and they attributed it to Mike McIntyre of the Winnipeg Sun. Apparently there was a trade. Apparently a trade went down that I was not aware of. It actually would have been an accurate tweet 23 years ago. 28 years ago. I did work for the Winnipeg Sun briefly, but haven't been there. It is. Remis, always on the ball. So I am still of the Winnipeg Free Press, and yes, should be a lively atmosphere. There was a media horde down at Canada Life Centre this morning, and they weren't there for the Winnipeg Jets, Huss. I mean, some of them were there for the Jets, but obviously the main event was hearing from Pierre-Luc Dubois, who seems to be taking it all with a sense of humor. Yeah, there's the horde. I love when Pierre-Luc Dubois, a couple things that he said that stood out. One was that at least he'll have 2 fans in the crowd tonight. He was referring to his mom and his dad. Although his dad, don't forget, is employed by True North. His dad might actually be, maybe dad's cheering for, I don't know, overtime probably. Everybody gets a point at least. And then he actually said that, he's expecting to hear a chorus of boos. He's going to pretend that they're actually saying doob instead of boo. So, hey, whatever gets you through the game, I guess. I don't think they're going to be chanting his last name, though. And if they are, it may include a few other words along with it. I suspect that he's not going to be given a very warm welcome. So much for friendly Manitoba, Huss.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. I mean, we've been kicking it around here, and we've got a lot to be thankful for Pierre-Luc Dubois. The drama that he brought here was great for the show for 2 years. And we actually had some people that said in the chat, well, I found you guys by searching around for the Dubois stuff. So we're thankful to he and Pat Brisson for all the business that went on throughout it. But I think Jet fans are also pretty thankful for the guys that have come back in his place. And I mean, as much as Dubois is going to be the center of attention, Mike, this is going to be a big, big game. And I imagine there'll be some money on the board, as they say, from Balharry, Iafallo, and Rasmus Kupari, who have all had great starts to the season in their new home.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing here, Huss. Like, we're going to see potentially tonight, depending on how Rick Bowness rolls the lines. We know that Velarde, Iafallo, and Kupari, they're on 3 of Winnipeg's 4 lines. And Pierre-Luc, the first, the third, and the fourth line. And Pierre-Luc Dubois is on the Kings' second line. It's not inconceivable that literally every second of the game tonight, there could be one of the parties from that trade that's on the ice. And there'll be times maybe when there's more than one guy on the ice. When you think about it, 25%, 3 out of 12 of the Winnipeg Jets forwards tonight are the return for PL Dubois. That's you don't see that very often in any trade where you get 3 ready-made NHL pieces that step into the lineup for one. Especially not in a situation where a team like the Jets are still very much believe they're a contender. It'd be one thing if you got 3 kind of future pieces back and, you know, on a rebuilding team and you threw them into the lineup. The fact is the Jets, they didn't just gift jobs to the 3 guys in the PL Dubois trade. They have them where they believe they should be. Gabe Velarde is playing on the top line, and a top line that, quite frankly, Huss has been absolutely dominant through large stretches of the first 2 games. I know Gabe Velarde's only got the 1 assist. He's been tremendous. And, you know, the eye test tells you that. The analytics tell you that. Alex Iafallo scored in his Jets debut in Calgary the other night. And again, his line with Lowry and Appleton, very strong. And Rasmus Kupari, that fourth line that he's centering with Morgan Barron and Vlad Domestikov, I mean, they are absolute puck hounds. And they have a lot of speed and skill and arguably one of the best fourth lines the Jets have ever iced. So you're right. I mean, maybe as much as fans might want to boo Dubois tonight, maybe they should actually be thanking him because, you know, him wanting out paved the way for 3 key pieces. And what I would suggest, Huss, is the deepest Jets forward group, certainly since 2018 that we've seen. And, you know, if Pierre-Luc Dubois doesn't say that I'm not signing here long-term and doesn't expand his horizons beyond the Montreal Canadiens, which was the original thought, the Jets maybe aren't where they are today. And so I get why people are going to want to boo PL Dubois. The relationship, it was a bit of a toxic one at times. And, you know, fans had a lot to cheer about Pierre-Luc Dubois as well. But the way the relationship ended, I suspect a lot of fans are going to want to voice their displeasure. At the end of the day, though, I think you can make a convincing argument the Jets might just be better off with what they got in return.
Well, Remis already has his thank you PL sign ready for tonight for based on exactly that. There
Very nice.
There it is.
Thank you, PL. I mean, it can work as a chant, right?
Yeah, we've got the best trade ever chants going on in the
Best
chat
trade,
as well.
yeah.
You know, there'll be a few of those ringing out tonight, I think. Back to Velarde for a minute. And we'll talk about Scheifele separately because that's another conversation that I really want to get into with you. But Mike, you know, I was in Calgary at the opening game, and naturally, you know, was making a point, especially when that line was on, about watching Velarde.
Right.
Now, the thing that stands out to me, it especially did in that game, but we saw more of it in the game. Although I think they didn't have to grind on the boards as much against Florida.
Right.
That those guys were flying, and they seemed to be controlling things. The thing that stands out to me about Velarde, and whether it's his stick, physicality, he won so many puck battles on the boards for possession, turning it to one of his line mates or back to the defense. And when that line spends more time in the O-zone, good things are going to happen, and maybe just as importantly, prevents bad things from happening in the other end. I've been trying to think about a guy that has fit better. And again, we're talking about 2 games, but on paper and with the eye test, and certainly if you want to look at what the analytics are for this Winnipeg team through 2 games, I mean, it's pretty much off the charts. Like, to me, the key, if Cole Perfetti can hold it down and stay at that number 2 center position, Balharry has the opportunity to be a massive, massive difference maker on that top line and on the power play. And I think it will also help bring out the best in 55 and 81.
Yeah, and if you're Gabe Balharry, look, I'm sure that a part of him would love to be playing center. That's kind of his natural position, but a pretty nice landing spot to be alongside, Winnipeg's top 2 scorers in Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor. And if Gabe Balharry is with those 2 kind of the whole season, I dare say Gabe Balhardy's probably going to be the 3rd top scorer on this team because he's going to get a bucket load of points. And as you say, there seems to be a real fit, a real compliment. In some ways, Huss, I know a lot of people naturally, they want to compare Gabe Balhardy to the guy he basically replaced, Pierre-Luc Dubois. I wonder if we might see some comparisons along the line here to Gabe Balhardy and a younger, I stress younger, Blake Wheeler. Don't forget, Blake Wheeler was a pretty dominant right winger with some size. You talk about winning board battles, puck possession. He's got speed, some physicality when needed. I do wonder if in some ways Gabe Balhardy might not be, the kind of player that Blake Wheeler once was, and a real nice compliment to what the Jets have in the lineup. And so you're right. I mean, I think Rick Bowness, when camp started, there was a natural move to give Cole Perfetti the first crack at the second line center spot. He's their first round draft pick, their drafted and developed guy. He's a guy, as we've documented, has battled some injury issues. And there was certainly the belief that maybe he could stay healthier if he was in at the center spot. And the offshoot of that was, okay, well, let's move Gabe Balhardy then up to the top line and see what he can do there. And, they didn't play a whole lot in the preseason. They had that really nice power play goal, their first game together, but certainly through 2 meaningful games, there's a lot of evidence to suggest that line is going to be an absolute handful. And not just in the offensive end, Huss. I mean, as a top line, you want to be able to hold your own defensively. I think, as you said, we'll talk about Mark Scheifele, but we're seeing a real commitment from Mark Scheifele to a more complete game. I think Gabe Balhardy's a big part of that, though. This is a guy, he's still very young, of course, but there's some real defensive responsibility to his game and a trust that I think he's quickly earned with the coaching staff that, frankly, goes a long way.
No, I'm fully with you on that. Iafallo, for his part, has been maybe the most pleasant surprise about Iafallo is just how effective and good he's looked playing with those guys on the first power play unit. But I also think that he adds another element to the Lowry line that Adam Lowry, frankly, hasn't had in a long, long time. I mean, this is a guy with far more offensive upside than I think anyone that's been on that line in a long time. And by all accounts, a player that is immensely dependable in their own end. And he's got some great hands, too. I mean, that deflection to put it into the top corner. I mean, obviously when you're talking about deflecting pucks, there is an element of luck or fortunate, but he's been awesome. And Rasmus Kupari might have been one of the most pleasant surprises. And you saw Adam Lowry after the game give him the Unsung Hero Award.
Yeah.
That play that he made on the Morgan Barron goal was phenomenal. Been doing a great job, logging some important minutes on the PK. And he's got a burst. Like, he's been able to, in both games, he's just sort of flipped the switch running around a defenseman and completely blown by them. Not sure he's much of a finisher, Mike, but, I mean, Kupari in particular, I think has maybe opened a few people's eyes early on. And for a team and a head coach and Rick Bowness that would like to be able to play his fourth line 9-10 minutes a game, he's really contributed early on and off to a nice start.
Well, he has, and you can see some tools there for sure, Huss, that would show why he was a first-round draft pick. Like, this was not a throw-in. And I think when we go back to that trade that finally went down on June 27th, the Jets demanded that Rasmus Kupari be part of that trade. If you recall, there was some other names being tossed around as potentially in the mix. And there might have been a tendency at the time to think that Kupari was just a throw-in to balance the scales. The Jets wanted Rasmus Kupari. They obviously had done their homework on him, and they felt that he was a player that could step right into this lineup and bring something that they needed. Now, the offshoot is a guy like David Gustafsson kind of gets pinched out of the picture here, because I think for a couple of years we thought David Gustafsson, that fourth line center job, was his for the taking. And yet here we are, and David Gustafsson is now the 13th forward on this Jets team. I don't think by any means the Jets have written David Gustafsson off. And look, if the Jets, they're not going to get through 82 games this year with the same 12 forwards. I'm pretty confident saying that. No team goes through an entire season without injury, illness. Obviously, if you're the Jets, you hope that there's nothing significant. But the fact of the matter is David Gustafsson will get his opportunity. But it just goes back to that depth. And as you say, I think since Rick Bowness came to Winnipeg, he's been trying to remodel the bottom six into his vision of what he thinks a bottom six should be. And I think this year especially, they're coming real close, if not, bang on to what Rick Bowness wants. And clearly the trust is there. We've seen Huss. I mean, the Jets have only had the one home game. They so far anyways, they have not been a matchup heavy team. Like, Rick Bowness is not all that concerned with who's out against who. And he mentioned that a little bit this morning. He was asked about a guy like Anze Kopitar, future Hall of Famer, and how much of a matchup game he might play against Kopitar. And Rick Bowness just kind of reiterated that he's got four lines he's very comfortable with. And why wouldn't he be? I mean, the way they've got these lines kind of mixed and matched right now, I think is a recipe for sustained success.
Mike McIntyre, the Winnipeg Free Press, with us. Over 500 in the chat, folks. If you haven't already, help the boys out. Hit that thumbs up button. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button as we continue past our big milestone of last week of 10,000. Great to have you all with us today. Mike, let's get to Mark Scheifele. He has had a phenomenal start to the season. We talked a little bit about just how great that line has looked, along with Kyle Connor and Gabriel Velarde. Last week when we spoke, it was coming right out of the announcement of the extension, along with Connor Hellebuck. And, we kind of talked a lot of big picture. Is Mark Scheifele starting off a new chapter in his Jets career this year? And how does he look different to you and what he's done so far on the ice, as opposed to a pretty miserable way the season ended for him last year?
Well, he's tied with Gordie Howe for Gordie Howe hat tricks. Who had that on the bingo card? He's coming out swinging, Huss, literally, because he's gotten in two scraps. I think Mark Scheifele, and he wouldn't necessarily admit this, but you wonder how much the whole contract situation and, wondering about his future has impacted, his performance at times. And it seems like we're seeing a Mark Scheifele now who is extremely comfortable in his own skin, who knows what he is, who maybe has recognized some flaws in his game, some criticisms of his game, is going out of his way to try and silence critics. And look, Mark Scheifele's never going to win the Selke, right? I don't think anybody expects that. But, a little more emotion, a little more engagement, a little more passion when it comes to his own end of the ice. And we've seen that through two games in spades. We've seen that in every aspect of his game, the passion and the emotion, from his celebration after the first goal the other night, to obviously sticking up for himself, now multiple times. Even Huss, something we don't talk about very often, but he was 19 for 24 in the faceoff circle the other day.
Where did that come from?
And
unbelievable.
And that was like he was schooling Sasha Barkov, who's a pretty good centerman. Mark Scheifele owned him in the dot. And, I know there's debate about how important faceoffs are. Rick Bowness said it again this morning. I asked him a little bit about Scheifele's performance and why that's important. The Jets want to be a puck possession team. It's a lot easier to be a puck possession team when you're winning faceoffs and start with the puck. You're not chasing it, and trying to take it away from the other team nearly as much.
Especially that line. I mean, it's exponentially more important when you have your best players on the ice, where if they have the puck, they've got a better chance of lighting the lamp.
Yeah, you don't want, first of all, the Jets want all of their players to take short shifts. They don't want guys out there, and that's been an issue with Scheifele and others, Kyle Connor, Blake Wheeler. Those guys were notorious for it. And you weren't getting necessarily their best towards the end of a shift. If you're spending half of your shift defending, and as you say, Huss, your best players, like that's not a very effective use of those guys. But when you're starting with the puck, and the Jets often are, and you're on the attack, now you're really forcing the other team to defend and, eventually break down, and perhaps it leads to something. And if it's not the top line, maybe it's the line that comes over the boards right after them. So, Mark Scheifele, we know he's a student of the game, a guy who takes pride in his craft, a self-professed hockey nerd. He talked about things he worked on this summer, and that includes his work in the faceoff circle. And so is he going to be 19 for 24 every night? Of course not. The best faceoff men, the best centermen in the league are usually around 55, maybe 60%. So Mark Scheifele had a game for the ages the other day in a lot of ways. But I think the engagement and, the importance that he has on this team, and now with his contract situation settled, what we're clearly seeing, Huss, is a guy who's not content to just coast or put his feet up and feel comfortable. Mark Scheifele, just like Connor Hellebuck, is driven by a desire to win. And I think Mark Scheifele realizes that the Jets are, how far the Jets go, a lot of that has to do with what Mark Scheifele is doing on the ice. And so he's being put in, obviously, a position to succeed. And he's absolutely, taken that ball and running with it early on. And it's a great sign for the Jets.
It really is. And I'm just looking at some of the comments in chat. This one's from Vern, 55. It's like watching a new leaf being flipped. So much to love about it. Elias, I think 55 has reset himself after the quiet summer on the market. Hope it lasts. He looks happier. I mean, that's a very simple thing. And like, these are human beings. I think it was pretty clear that there was a lot of stuff kind of behind the scenes that maybe wasn't going well for Mark, the way the previous season ended, certainly the end of last season, after a very good start for himself and the team. And I mean, listen, we've asked a lot of people questions about Mark. He's out of the top 50 players in the league. I mean, like, his reputation took a little bit of a hit over the last little bit. And I don't know whether this is a redemption tour or whether this is just a player that, maybe there was a lot on his mind about his future, about his next contract, all of that taken care of right now. And to the point of him looking happier. I mean, I can remember a time in the past couple of years where Mark was one of the 3 stars, and he came out and did. I'm not even sure whether both skates got on the ice, but he just did like the smallest circle, tossed the stick, went back in, not in a good place. You compare that to Saturday with him coming out, doing a big lap, giving a stick to the kid. The entire team, I mean, frankly, I think showed a little bit more. I mean, going to the center, acknowledging the fans that were there supporting them. Like, it just seems like there is, and I don't know. I mean, how much does this have to do with Blake Wheeler not being here? I mean, I guess we'll never know. But I mean, that $5.5 million that the Jets are paying him not to be here, and to really allow Adam Lowry to be the captain, and maybe to not have a guy like Dubois that, I mean, I'm sure he got along with the other guys fine, and at times he was very good for the Winnipeg Jets. But as Rick Bowness saying, we have guys that have got that want to be here. Like, it just seems like all the moves that they've done with the goal, not only of making the team better on the ice, but an actual team, a team that lived up to all the things that they've been saying for the last couple of years about how close they were and how tight knit. It really seems to be happening right now. And I don't think there's a better example of that than Mark Scheifele. And that is a very, very good thing for the Winnipeg Jets.
You're not wrong about the joy level, Huss. I mean, I noticed it again just this morning in the room after morning skate. There were times, I can think of times when Mark Scheifele, you'd go into the room and Mark Scheifele would already have been changed and gone, like not sticking around to do a whole lot of media. And there are other players that were like that as well, where, unless you specifically ask for players, you wouldn't necessarily get everyone just kind of sticking around to see who might wanted to talk. There was Mark Scheifele today. I mean, the Jets as a team, they were all present. There was a lot of one-on-one chats going on with different media, and Mark Scheifele was one of them, sitting at his stall for an extended period of time. And even after practices, like we're often seeing Mark Scheifele, and whether it's Cole Perfetti or other players, he's staying out long after practice ends to do extra work. And you're right. I mean, he seems to just be, whether it's a weight off his shoulder, a chip off his shoulder, whatever. It just seems to be a bit of a new lease on life for sure. And, maybe a little bit too, Huss, as you say, his stock. And Mark Scheifele, he hears what's going on. He knows what's going on around the league, maybe more than a lot of other players. There might be a little bit of and I'll put this in terms that Mark Scheifele himself would use, a bit of a frick you to the critics, going on here, right? And hey, motivation comes in many different factors. And we are seeing a very motivated, very engaged Mark Scheifele. And, I think it's infectious, right? Like at the end of the day, he wears a letter. He's part of the leadership group, and he's certainly conducting himself on and off the ice like a real leader. And that's great news for the Jets.
Yeah, and listen, there was at times, I don't want to say that he wasn't necessarily part of the leadership group, but it sort of seemed like the leadership group was so separated from the rest of the team.
Yeah.
And that is not the case right now at all. And, if you want to talk about, Josh, I think, has always been Josh has been a bit of a bridge guy, and Adam Lowry always had been the guy in the dressing room outwardly, and when you talk to people on the inside, that had been sort of that bridge between the younger players that didn't quite have the status of a Blake Wheeler, for instance, and why he was such a good choice to be captain. And man, he's playing well, but he also, and it was funny listening to him speak earlier today, about Dubois not necessarily wanting to be here and moving on and what he'd get from the fans. He finished it off with saying a bunch of nice things about him as a guy and a great player and all that. But he mentioned that the fans, there's probably a lot of fans that take it personally. And I had mentioned on the show, there's nothing you want more than your hockey team to represent their city and their fan base well. And I wouldn't be surprised, as much as they like Pierre-Luc Dubois, he's a good guy. I wouldn't be surprised if this Winnipeg Jets team comes out tonight playing like they took it a little personally and saying, we're quite fine with the decisions that have been made and where this team is at.
Agreed. And, I think, again, going back to Saturday's game, I wonder how much of Mark Scheifele's extra giddy up was because of who was on the other bench. And I look back to the first visit a year ago, or just under, when Florida came to town and Paul Maurice made his return. Mark Scheifele had a pretty impactful game that night too. Scored twice. I think, if I recall, he also had a pretty nice game in Florida last year. And so to fast forward to tonight, I suspect that there will be a bit of that. And And look, Rick Bowness has said that many times. And Rick Bowness isn't one to just throw out sound bites or cliches for the sake of being heard or making a headline. Like, Rick Bowness says what he means and means what he says. And Rick Bowness many times has brought up, as you pointed out, Huss, we have a team, the guys are here, they want to be here. That's a not so subtle shot at some guys that no longer are here that clearly didn't want to be here. And one of those guys will be on the other team tonight. And not that the Jets probably need any extra motivation, but I suspect that will throw a little more fuel on the fire for sure.
No doubt about it. Mike, getting away from Scheifele, Dubois, the new Kings, what have you thought of the line two so far? Ehlers, along with Cole Perfetti, who I think is maybe the person that we're looking at most closely. Nino Niederreiter certainly had his fair share of chances so far playing with these guys. What have been the early returns in your mind from line number two?
Well, I liked line number two more in game two than game one. I thought Nikolai Ehlers certainly looked like a guy who had missed all of training camp in his debut in Calgary. Although, as you say, Nino Niederreiter, he could have had a hat trick in that Flames game. But it's hard to judge them, Huss, because even last game, and Rick Bowness mentioned this morning, there were so many penalties called the other day that we didn't get to see that line. I mean, there wasn't a ton of 5-on-5 play to begin with. And then, Ehlers is on the second power play unit. So is Cole Perfetti. And, that unit doesn't play quite as much as the first unit. So it just felt like we haven't really seen them maybe in a full and fair viewing yet. That being said, I certainly noticed Nikolai Ehlers more in game two. I thought he was moving better. Had a couple nice zone entries, which he's of course very effective at. So I think that timing, it's going to take a bit. They didn't play any preseason games together. I think the individual pieces are starting to come together. Nino Niederreiter looks the most comfortable of those three because he's kind of doing what he's done his whole career in terms of where he's playing. Cole Perfetti, obviously a bit of adjustment going back to center. Nikolai Ehlers, a bit of an adjustment just getting up to speed after missing all of camp. But certainly I noticed improvements game one to game two. And if they can make a few more, game three over game two, I think that line will be just fine. And again, is part of a real complement of weapons that the Jets have at their disposal here.
Quick thoughts on the blue line so far this year. Josh Morrissey's had a nice start. Dylan DeMello scoring. I mean, to me, the most important observation is from the second pairing. I think Dylan Sandberg's taken a step up. His confidence level seems to be, and listen, I think that's rubbing off on Neil Pionk. And as we know, Pionk's had some real ups and downs over the last couple seasons. We talked all offseason how a big bounce back year, how important that could be for number 4. What have you thought about Sandberg and the pairing along with Pionk early this season?
Oh, I've loved Dylan Sandberg's game, and I've seen a lot more, as I'm sure you have, Haas. There's a lot more physicality there. He's stepping into guys. He's and to me, that's just a confidence thing. Like he finally feels probably like a full-time NHLer, as he should, because kind of for the first time he is. But there's also more offense there, I think. And, again, we're seeing him, make some real nice stretch passes, maybe jump into the play a little more. I just think Dylan Sandberg, and we have yet to kind of hit the ceiling on this player, but there's so much to like about his game. He's forced his way into that top 4. Maybe we thought at the start of camp, like he might break in. There's probably a feeling that Brendan Dillon was going to be with Pionk there. He left Rick Bowness no choice. Like, he played his way. He earned that spot in the top 4. And that's knocked Brendan Dillon down a notch. I really like Brendan Dillon's game the other night. I thought he was really physical and asserting himself. And look, it's hard to judge Nate Schmidt. Again, he missed most of camp with an injury. Obviously, well documented, not a great first game, specifically that icing, that may have cost the Jets a point. and a bit of a missed assignment there on the ultimate goal that came. But, you know, I think Nate Schmidt, he's going to take a little more time to get up to speed here. But yeah, I mean, I think the blue line, despite the fact that Jets have surrendered 9 goals in 2 games, which, you know, 2 of those granted came on with the goalie out the other day. I don't think we've seen Connor Hellebuck yet at his peak. I'm not concerned at all, 1 iota about Connor Hellebuck. I know some people were quick to dump on him after game 1, which is just ridiculous. Look, always beginning of every NHL season, just look around the league. Scoring is usually way up. More penalties get called early. There's more power plays, more special teams play. The goalies sometimes take a little bit of time to get up to speed. And you're talking the smallest of sample sizes. So I think, you know, Connor Hellebuck, we have yet to see his best, but we're going to. And I think there's some pieces on the blue line that obviously there's room for improvement. But as a whole, I think there's a lot of encouraging signs for sure on the defensive end of the puck. And as Rick Bowness said the other day, 5-on-5, they did not give the Panthers much at all. Special teams and goalie out, sure, that may be skewed it a little bit. I think 5-on-5, the Jets have been a really solid team through 2 games.
No, it's a great point. Hey, Mike, just before we go, I got to ask you about Ville Heinola. I was surprised to see him on the bench at the home opener. I thought that he'd gone back to Finland. You know what the situation with him is? Did he not go yet and he is going, or is he back already?
No, I believe and he may be there now. I didn't check in the last day or 2. I think he wanted to stick around for the home opener. He just had the surgery as well, I think last week. So I believe he will be going back home to Finland for a few weeks anyways to spend some time with family, and then he'll rejoin the Jets a little closer to when he's able to start maybe ramping it up. But yeah, it was good to see Ville, and, you know, couldn't help but wonder, Huss, I put this out on Twitter after game 1, of course. Unfortunately, if Ville Heinola doesn't break his ankle there, good chance that he's in the lineup in game 1 and not Nate Schmidt. You know, butterfly effect, who's to say the result would have been any different? But you sometimes wonder. I mean, at the end of the day, it was terrible for Ville, who had looked to have played himself onto not only the 23-man roster, but very likely the opening night roster. You know, and so hopefully he can recover as quickly as he can. And I know the team really wanted to let him go back to his family just so he can kind of be around some loved ones, because it can be a lonely time, Huss, especially as a young player. I'm sure there's a lot of frustration there. They don't want Ville just kind of, you know, hanging, especially when the team's on the road, just sitting, you know, home alone, kind of sad at his situation. So it's probably a good fit, and I believe he is headed home.
Yeah, and you know what? It's funny. I mean, we've all talked about you know, the underlying numbers and just how much of a positive effect Ville Heinola seems to have on the ice when he's on the ice, I should say. You just imagine how much better the Jets' numbers could be when he gets in here, because they're smack dab at the top of the league right now through 2 games with the way that they've played through 6 periods.
They are an analytics darling, that's for sure, Huss, through 2 games.
Who would have thunk it?
Yeah, who would have thunk it indeed? And they'll look to keep that going tonight. Should be a fun one at the barn. I'm curious to see the crowd count. I was a little surprised that there were so many unsold seats for game 1. Maybe some fans are taking a wait and see approach before jumping back on the bandwagon or investing. But we'll see. I suspect regardless of what the crowd count is tonight, it's going to be a lively barn, probably with some creative chants, Huss. Very much looking forward to this one.
Yeah, it is going to be fun. The WST crew is going to be up there in 316, our first game in our 4-game pack. There's been plenty of suggestions for those chants in the chat all show today. So let's get it on. Big one tonight. And you know that the fans and I think the team really are going to want this one. I know they'll say, hey, it's just 1 game of 82, but it's not really just 1 game of 82.
This is not your ordinary mid-October Tuesday night game 3 on the NHL schedule. Not at all, Huss. Should be a great atmosphere.
A big one for them too, Mike, though. I mean, we talked about this schedule at the start. I mean, you got the Cup champs coming in on Thursday night. you've got an Oiler team that will be, I'm sure, in a bad mood after the way they've started off the season with those 2 straight losses to the Vancouver Canucks. So I'd say also an important game for the Jets to really try and get off to a good start and sort of survive some very, very good teams coming into Winnipeg and on the schedule as they get through October. We'll look forward to your and Ken and the rest of the WFP teams reporting tomorrow on the program. Thanks for doing this and enjoy the game tonight, Mike.
You bet. You as well, Huss. Take care.
Thanks. There's Mike McIntyre. Give him a follow on Twitter, X, and you can read all of his work covering the Winnipeg Jets in the pages of the Winnipeg Free Press. We're going to hit the dressing room, hear from Bones, Lowry, and Pierre-Luc Dubois as well. But some Bomber news for you coming out of that. Obviously, Saturday night, 6 p.m., IG Field, final home preseason or home regular season game of the year, I should say. And the Bombers can clinch the West with a win. It's as simple as that. No lines out for the game yet. I think they're still waiting to see how the lineups look, both for Winnipeg, but also for Edmonton. The key note from Bomber side of things, no Dalton Schoen at practice, and we'll wait for an update on Schoen's availability as we get closer to the weekend. Of course, our Bomber reports all year long are brought to you by Princess Auto. 6 o'clock game means 4 p.m. doors open for the Princess Auto tailgate zone and the tailgate party before the game outside IG Field. Get there early and enjoy great deals on pop, beers, hot dogs, and more. Of course, Princess Auto, proud sponsor of the Bombers and Winnipeg Sports Talk, and the place where you'll find the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new is at Princess Auto. Pop by and see them on either Panet Road or Portage Avenue West in town, or shop online 24/7, 365 at princessauto.com. The gang at Consolidated Supply has had such a busy summer and fall, and they're still working hard right now as we get closer to winter as the leaders in irrigation systems, artificial turf, and golf carts is the exclusive club car dealer in Manitoba. Consolidated Supply, though, has other great options for your property, including something that might go very well with winter, and that is a hot tub. They've also got amazing outdoor kitchen options that you'll want to check out. Pop by and see them, Consolidated Supply, at their showroom, open to the public, 1395 Niagara Road East, or you can find out more online and check them out at cte.ca. Well, everyone, you got your Jets gear ready for this one tonight? I know many of you are kind of thinking, who's the jersey that I'm going to get? Maybe it's a 13 Balharry. Maybe it's a 9 Iafallo. Maybe it's a 15 Kapari. Or maybe you've been holding off waiting for a 37 or 55 and know that these guys are going to be Jets for a long, long time. Well, whoever you want on that new jersey, you can get it at Royal Sports, along with thousands of pieces of Jets merchandise, many exclusives that you won't find anywhere else. While you're there, get ready for the Bomber playoff run with a great selection of Blue Bomber merch. All 32 NFL teams represented as well at Royal Sports. And as we get into hockey season, you know that Royal Sports for 40 years has been the hockey experts in town for players of all ages and all skill levels. It's all waiting for you at 750 Pembina Highway. Follow them on Instagram at Royal Sports Pembina for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. And hey, a big shout out to our friends at Boston Pizza. Had another great Monday night experience yesterday when we were down at BP Taylor. If you'd like to see all the highlights, look no further than our pal Carter Chen's Instagram feed. Yes, the Ritz Cracker came in, popped by. He had to drop me off my Kelsey jersey that he borrowed for the Taylor Swift party on Saturday. No joke. As only Carter can do it. We sampled a bunch of the new appies that Boston Pizza's got going on. So you can check that out, and it's up there on Insta right now. We had a real good time. No better place for Monday Night Football or for watching the Jet game than your local BP. Check out the new appies along with those world-famous BP wings, ice-cold schooners, gourmet pizzas, and more. And if you are staying at home tonight, you can always get the great taste of Boston Pizza by ordering online at bostonpizza.com. What a job Carter did on that reel last night, eh?
Hey, you and him sampling this food. Oh, there's the wings. Check our Instagram if you're listening to the podcast for this. Carter, he does it. He's amazing. Does a great job. Well, is that the pierogi pizza? Oh man, look at this. I'm getting hungry, Huss, looking at this, but there you are with him. Cameo appearance.
Yeah, a little cameo with the crew last night. A bunch of the guys, and now the guys in Edmonton are obsessed with Carter. Eric and Dusty today on the Lock Shop. When are you and when is Ritz Kraka going to come out to Edmonton to do his thing? So you know what? He's been very kind, a big supporter of ours. If you're on Insta, you've probably already seen his content and subscribe. But Ritz Kraka, he is a beauty. And the operation, I did a behind-the-scenes photo, Reem, of Carter, who, I mean, just has has a gift for this stuff. Great lighting. Taught me all about the editing last night that goes into these things. It is quite a production. But anyway, shout out to the gang at BP Taylor. We had a great time last night. Oh yes, and those are wondering about this Taylor Swift party. I guess this is something that's been happening for a while. They pack the Park Theater and get a DJ, and they just crank out all these Taylor Swift tunes. They sell it out. It's about 95% female, from what I could tell from the videos. All the Swifties have a great time, and apparently they broke the record for booze sales at the Park Theater as well on Saturday, which was somewhat surprising. Yeah, that's what they tell me.
At that party?
That is what they tell me. So anyways, we had a great time, and shout out to Carter for popping by last night. Let's get to the room. Stay tuned though, folks. I have an epic WST parlay that I put together for tonight's game that I think you're going to want to hear about. But as far as the room goes today, well, we'll save Dubois for the end. Let's hear from the rest of Adam Lowry. We heard Lowry right off the top of the show on the reception for Pierre-Luc Dubois. Lowry talked a little bit more about the type of player that PLD is, that will be on the other side of the rink tonight.
Well, I think, first and foremost, he's an awesome guy. He's an awesome teammate. He likes to have a lot of fun. He does a really good job of, making sure guys get together on the road, guys get out together for meals and things like that. So, I think he kind of gets misconstrued in the media that, he kind of wears his welcomes out in places and stuff. But, he was a great teammate. I think, when the trade went down, that was big news with us trading Patrick for him. And, there was high hopes that, we'd finally kind of had two number one centermen in him and Scheifele. I think at his best, he is that. He's a dominant player. He uses his size. He can take over games. He's an agitator. He was a great guy to play with every night.
See in the background, Remo, the new camo jacket, proudly owned by Rasmus Kapari after being named the unsung hero by Lowry after the win against the Panthers.
Yeah, a lot of people asking, are the jackets back this year, and what they have player of the game and unsung hero? My biggest question is, what did they wash the jackets ever? You're putting it on after you're all sweaty from a hockey game. I think I'm the only person who's thought of this, but that was my first thought. Do they pass around the jackets? These guys play a full game and they just put on a jacket, a nice jacket. I don't know. I'd be afraid of wrecking it.
I imagine the Winnipeg Jets training staff and equipment guys have something to make sure that it does not just get a bunch of sweat on it and then hang there until it happens again after the win. Bottom line is, hopefully it gets a lot on it, because that means the Jets are winning hockey games and it's getting handed out after the game. Here's a little bit more from the captain just on the trade and the return coming back to Winnipeg.
I think when you look at the trade as a whole, it was a great trade for both teams, right? It certainly improved our depth, and it gives the Kings three formidable centermen with Donnell, Kopitar, and Doobie. And, I think it strengthens both teams. They felt they could afford to lose some depth and, add to a position of strength for them. And, the guys we got back they've really kind of integrated themselves into this room. They've become big parts of this team. They contribute in all different areas. And, we think that's going to continue. They're huge parts of our team now and into the future, and we're really excited to have them.
There's Adam Lowry on the Dubois trade, and just here's a little bit more from Lowry, just expanding on it really being a win for both teams, certainly his squad.
For sure, I think that's a great way to look at it. Sometimes when kind of your back's against the wall and your hands a little forced, and guys are wanting out and things like that, it's tough to get fair value. But I think both teams were able to kind of work on a deal that suited both teams, helped both teams' needs, and I think down the road you can look at it and say it was a win for both organizations.
So there's Adam Lowry, Jets captain, before Game 3 of the season against the Los Angeles Kings. Now let's move over to the coach's office. Rick Bowness spoke before the game. And listen, Rick spoke about Pierre-Luc Dubois yesterday. Today, it's about the job at hand for his club to get 2 points against a good LA team and going up against LA's 1-3-1.
We worked on that in a couple of things in practice yesterday. It's there's other teams in the league that play it, so it's not that we're new. We played it against a few teams last year, so sometimes you go back and you look at the video in those games, what you did well against that 1-3-1. It's hard to play against, there's no question. The lanes are filled. What it does is helps their breakouts. They all pretty well know where that puck's going on their breakouts. Big part for us is making the decisions, coming with speed, and doing our best job to keep it away from their goalie, because if their goalie touches it, they break out pretty clean. So there's a lot of onus on us. We know what to expect. We know it's very difficult to play against, but we've had success against it before.
All right, so there's Bones on the challenge that the Kings bring with their 1-3-1. Bones has also been a guy that loves winning faceoffs. The faceoff sort of bit the team late in the game against the Calgary Flames. That was not the case. And I mean, I'll have to go back or ask Elias stats or something like that. I can't ever remember Mark Scheifele having as dominant a night in the faceoff circle as he did on Saturday afternoon. 19 of 24. Bones talked about Scheifele's dominance in the faceoff circle and how much that helped us last game.
It's a little bit of all of that. It was a great night, clearly. We did not have a good face-off night in Calgary. So we talked to the centerman and the team about that. Again, the centerman loses a draw. It's not always just on the centerman. There's wingers on some of these circles, and there's the defense and the D-zone circles. They've got to help out our centerman. We gave up a goal in Calgary because we basically won the draw, yet they got to the puck. So it's that, but Mark works very hard on all aspects of his game every day, and he's out in the ice working on face-offs. But it's all of those. He had a good night. Things went his way. He got help from the wingers. He got help from the defense, and that's what it takes.
I know everyone's talking about Dubois tonight, but the guy we probably should be talking and paying attention to a little bit more was a guy that killed the Jets last year with a 4-goal game for the Los Angeles Kings, and that is Anze Kopitar. Bones talked about the big guy for the Kings down the middle.
He's an elite player. He really is. And I love watching the guy play. He's a pain in the butt to play against, but I love the elite athletes in our league that take such great pride in their game and playing at a high level on a consistent basis. And Kopi's like that. Like, I just, I don't know the guy, but I'm telling you, since he came in the league, I've always admired how he played. He's one of my favorite players to watch play the game. So, but he's a big, strong guy that's so good at both ends, and he's so detailed to his game. He's an elite player, and all the recognition he gets, he deserves.
All right, so there's Bones on Kopitar, and Bones expanded a little bit on the challenge tonight, matching up against LA, who now with the addition of Dubois have 3 pretty darn good centers with PL, Kopitar, and of course former Hab Philip Deneau.
Very strong down the middle of the ice. They're all big, strong guys. They're all very dominant in the face-off circle. So it's going to, we will do a pre-scout on the face-offs and get ready for that. But they're very strong down the middle, so are we. So, Rasmus has been great at center for us. He's done a wonderful job for us. Cole's getting better every game, and we got Adam and we got Mark. So we're not that bad down the middle ourselves.
All right, there's Rick Bowness giving us some support to his centers and the way they played so far. One more from Bones, a little advice to Rasmus, Gabriel Vilardi, and AI on going up against their former team.
You can talk all you want. They're going to be nervous. They got to get out there and they got to get through it. Probably about 3 or 4 shifts into it, you're forgetting that there's the opposition. But there's no friends out there to take that mentality into the game, and there's not. But you got to get through that until first. You can talk to them all you want. They have to experience that, and then they'll be fine. I'm not worried about them.
There's what Bones had for us today after the morning skate. We'll actually get a clip from Todd McClellan in a minute, but first let's hear from Dubois. He spoke today. Mike McIntyre mentioned the massive throng, mostly of Winnipeg reporters, around Pierre-Luc Dubois and his return to Winnipeg. Here's Dubois in the trade seemingly working out for both sides.
Yeah, I mean, the reality of it is guys go in free agency and they leave for nothing. The Jets got 3 good players from the Kings, and you look at that roster now, and I haven't really followed much, but I'm sure they're doing well. I'm sure they're fitting in. I'm sure they're getting to know the guys. So I think the Jets fans are happy that they got that in return instead of nothing. I think those guys will help the team for now and in the future, and I wish them nothing but the best. But yeah, it's that's just how it goes sometimes in the business. I'm happy the Jets got, I'm sure, what they wanted out of it.
All right, Dubois on the trade. Here's an interesting one. Dubois talked about working with the Jets to find a destination that was suitable for him and his future.
I mean, we worked with the team. That my agent and Chevy communicated, I think, well with each other to try to make something work. Like I said, every once in a while you see a guy just leave and the team doesn't get anything out of it. That's not the situation I wanted it. That's not how I wanted it to be. So my agent and Chevy did, I think, a good job in finding the right fit and the right return for Winnipeg. And like I said, I'm sure they're happy over there with what they got.
Pierre-Luc Dubois of the Los Angeles Kings. One more clip from PL, and this was just him reflecting on his time here in Winnipeg as a Jet.
There's a lot of positives in my time here. The people I met, obviously being in the city with my parents, in the city, the fans, everything. There's a lot of positives, but it was at a point in my career and in my life where it's, I have to look further into just 1 year. If I was on a 5-year deal, and it would have been 5 years, and it's just the timing, the contract, the situation. I have to think of myself in year 1, but also year 8 of the contract, and I felt like LA was a great fit, and I enjoyed my time in Winnipeg. And like I said, if I had a 5-year deal coming out of Columbus to Winnipeg, then it would have been 5 years. It's just the timing of it felt right. When I looked at it, when we talked to LA, the team, the fit, everything that comes with it, I felt like it was the right decision for me to make. And like I said, nothing but positives of Winnipeg. And like I've said before, people tend to think that he didn't like it or he didn't do, but it's just, as your life goes on, you sign an 8-year deal, you have to think of the 8 years of that contract. And for me, it just felt like LA was it.
All right, so there's Pierre-Luc Dubois, loving his new home, loving the golf cart, loving the reservations at Nobu, probably not loving the fact that they're 0-2, and probably won't love the reception tonight at Canada Life Center. We've got one more clip.
Wait, two more. We'll do one more because he talked about 8 years in LA, Huss, and it was only a year ago where he wasn't even sure what he was going to have for dinner, but now he's decided on the 8 years here. Here's from July 2022.
Oh, the memories.
I'm pretty sure you've at some point changed your mind or not been sure about something in your life. And who knows, a year later, maybe 6 months later, maybe 30 minutes later, you change your mind or you've thought of something different or you've thought of a different idea. Look, I don't even know what I'm eating tonight for dinner. I don't know what I'm going to do in 2 years. I don't know what I'm going to do in 6 years. I don't know what I'm going to do in 6 months.
I had to bring that one up just because I was just looking back. He was being pressed over and over again about why he was evading the questions about his long-term future, but he seemed to have figured it out. And if we do have any what's for dinner chance tonight, that's why.
We know what's for dinner. Nobu, at least when he gets back home. And, again, there'll be, you might see I think when in the article that Murat wrote,
showing up the "What's for dinner" sign. That'll be there tonight.
This is going to be fun. This is going to be fun tonight. Let's hear one more clip. This is from Kings head coach Todd McClellan, who was asked about his thoughts on the Dubois trade, and of course the three former members of his club that will now be wearing the home blue of Winnipeg.
Trades happen for a number of reasons with both organizations. Ours, we looked at what we had on our roster now and what we would have in the future, where our hockey club was, and PL fit that in many different ways. Obviously, Ansi Kopitar isn't going to play until he's 65, although we'd like him to. We just feel that that center ice position is so important. The size, the strength, and having fully developed centerman, which PL is important for our organization at this point. He's fit very well. He's very attentive. He's asking real good questions. It does take some time for a new individual to acclimatize probably more to the jokers behind the bench and all their language they use. But he's done a real good job, and we're excited about having him. The thing with the trade is that 4 human beings were involved in it. I know the other 3 very well, obviously, and I'm really getting to know PL well now. And the one thing I can say is all 4 are real good people. And both the communities are lucky to have them in it. And we wish the 3 here in Winnipeg well, and we know we've got a real good one for the future as well.
All right, so there's Kings head coach Todd McClellan on the trade. Now it's time to get to Canada Life Centre and drop the puck tonight. Before we do that, though, busy night in the National Hockey League. We'll get to the Coolbet lines in just a sec. But don't forget, gang, great news for all you local beer lovers. Our favorite local beer, Little Brown Jug, is now partners with the Winnipeg Jets and is available in Canada Life Centre. If you're in the lower bowl tonight, you'll be able to get it in the North End Craft Beer Corner. And make sure to check out the new concourse there if you haven't been to the building yet this year. Just some phenomenal changes that have really completely brightened up, expanded the area for fans there. But maybe the best addition is the Little Brown Jug. Both 1919 and generic available there in the North End, as well as a spot in the South End of the building. And upstairs in the 300s, the craft beer corner is just outside 310, just a few sections down where we're at along the basically the Graham end of the building. So in addition to all the other offerings, they've got 1919 and generic lager are there, and I know that we'll see a few of those in section 316 tonight. Pop down and see Little Brown Jug in person at the Brewery and Tap Room on William Avenue, and you can also check them out online at littlebrownjug.ca with local delivery options. And big shout out to Nick and Nikki DQ. Great support of ours since day one. Of course, it was a great DQ summer, but much like our love of Slurpees, the love of those great ice cream trees from DQ doesn't go away once the season turns. And 12 months a year, the most underrated burger in the fast food game are those DQ stack burgers. Pop by and see them at DQ Northgate, DQ Polo Park, St. Anne's, or DQ Niverville. And don't forget, Nick and Nikki have just opened up the Pita Pit in Niverville. Healthy, fresh, fast, and delicious. Pita Pit, a great addition to Niverville. And they do great catering as well. If you want to hit them up or find out more on that, you can drop them an X post at Pita Pit Niverville. All right, let's get to the Coolbet lines. Had a fun time today with Dusty in the lock shop. The Tuesday show, always fun, and even better when we've got so many games in the National Hockey League tonight. Starts off with the Vancouver Canucks in Philly to take on the Flyers. Great start for Vancouver. We'll see if they can keep it going against one of the lesser lights, at least this season in the league. Canucks minus 128 moneyline favorites. Flyers plus 109. The Wild are in Montreal as a road favorite, minus 132 for Minnesota. Habs plus 113 at home. The Buffalo Sabres 0-2 on the year. A minus 127 home favorite against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Not too often you'd see Lightning getting plus money in a similar situation, but that's where things are at. Lightning are plus 108. The Coyotes, nice start. They got the win in Jersey. They just lost yesterday 2-1 to the Rangers. It is back-to-backs, but no real travel. Plus 169 for the Yotes against the Islanders at minus 201. The Edmonton Oilers looking for a win. Luckily for them, they're in Nashville, where Leon Draisaitl seems to score every single time he plays the Predators. Some interesting prop availabilities in this one, but the Oilers are minus 132. The Preds are plus 112. We'll get to the Jets-Kings game last. Avalanche Kraken going at it tonight in a late one. Kraken a plus 134 home favorite. Avs minus 158. Canes are a big minus 319 favorite. They'll be in an ornery mood after losing to the Ducks in the Ducks home opener. Sharks plus 260 at home. And how about this, Remis? The Dallas Stars are road favorites, minus 115 in Vegas to take on the Golden Knights, who are minus 102. The Stars have a pretty significant winning streak against Vegas. All their games seem to go under. The under 6 is minus 120. But if I didn't know the trend of Dallas and how they've done head-to-head against Vegas, I would have assumed that this line was a mistake with Dallas being a road favorite against the Stanley Cup champs.
Yeah, I think people have high expectations for Dallas this year. What they got, Matt Duchene. They got a great goalie in Jake Ottinger. Strong defense led by Miro Heiskanen. So I think people are very high on Dallas, but Vegas, they're the defending Cup champion. They're at home. So certainly anytime the defending Cup champs are not a favorite, I think your ears definitely for a Cup. But hey, you got to like what Dallas brings. I guess that's the game of the night. Look at the schedule tonight, Huss. It's really nice that we have games starting at 6 o'clock Central, games starting at 7 Central, games starting at 9 Central. Unlike last night on the NHL schedule where every game started at the same time. What was it? 5 games starting at the same time, getting to intermission at the same time. Not ideal, Hustler. So looking forward to tonight's slate of games.
Well, let's finish it off with the main event tonight as far as I'm concerned, and I think all of you as well. LA at Winnipeg. The Jets opened up as minus 130 favorites. The Kings were plus 110. Obviously, some action on the home squad as the Jets right now at minus 139 and the Kings plus 118 on the road. The total in this game is 6. Over is minus 117. Under is even money. And all sorts of interesting props when it comes to player points. All you need to know about how hot Kyle Connor's been is the fact that he's minus 235 to get a point tonight. Mark Scheifele minus 162, and Kyle Connor plus 172 for 2 points as well. But the guys we're going to be hoping to score tonight are the guys that are playing against their old team. Let's get over to the exclusives. I've put together the Winnipeg Sports Talk Parlay. A Jet win combined with 2 or more combined points from Gabriel Velarde and Alex Iafallo. This should be called the WST Revenge Game Parlay, but plus 225, Jets win, and a couple points, whether it's 2 from Velarde, 2 from Iafallo, 1 each. And man, I hope that one comes through, Remo. That would be a heck of a great way to get into continuing this homestand, and I think it would be huge for those players to maybe get one over on their former teammates.
I'm looking for this. I see the Dubois Revenge Parlay, Hustler. I gotta find the other one. But anyways, yeah, I would bet. That's just fun. You want to have fun watching the game? I follow Velarde, point, Jets win. Sounds like a done deal to me.
You got it. Dusty and I did crank one out for the lock shop as well for other games. I didn't want to put the Jets in on this because I didn't want to mush them. I just, figured we'd have that option for people if they wanted to jump on it. But the lock shop partner parlay is this: Vancouver money line in Philly, Edmonton money line in Nashville. So those teams can win in any fashion, shootout, overtime. It's all good. And the Carolina Hurricanes puck line. Canes to beat the Sharks by 2. That one, when we put it in on the show, was plus 478. And our friends at Coolbet gave us a nice little boost. So plus 550 tonight on the Lock Shop Partner Parlay. Those are all in the exclusives. Click on it, get on it. And if you haven't played at Coolbet before, use the promo code WST for a 100% bonus up to $200 on your first deposit. Remo, we're just past 3 o'clock. The doors are going to be open, or you'll be able to get in for the WST pack again at the Hargrave Skywalk doors. Beginning at 5 o'clock. We'll be there for 5:30. I think that's sort of a good time to plan to get there. Going to plan on doing a little draw for everyone that picked up a Winnipeg Sports Talk pack. Shout out to our friends at the Jets who kindly donated something to get things going. And again, Jets 360 app, make sure you have it. That is where I understand the free drink voucher is going to be, and you'll be able to get a cocktail. You'll be able to get a beer. If you're not drinking, you can get a soda or a water with that. And I know there's a few questions. I believe it's probably in the apps already. But we'll be there. If there's any issues, we'll get it looked after. But it should be pretty quick and easy on the app. That certainly is the plan for it. And as they say, Reem, you've got some signs ready. Folks, feel free. Bring anything else that you want. Throw the jersey on, get ready to get loud, and join us early for the game tonight. And again, if you're a season ticket holder or you're a mini pack holder, you know where we'll be. Whiskey Hangar outside section 316, beginning around 5:30. Pop by and say hi, meet a bunch of your fellow chatters, and just after 7, we'll drop the puck in one of the most anticipated games of the season.
Yeah, really fired up for this one. Fired up to seeing everyone. And yeah, I'm in my Jets app. It's kind of crazy, yes. They put in the Jets app, it says Winnipeg Sports Talk Pack Beverage has our logo in there. Fits. Nice. Really nice. This is pretty cool. So looking forward to seeing everyone. Yeah, 316 and for the early entry. And if you're there just regular entry, come by, say hello, and
yeah, and even if you're just thinking like, oh, grab some tickets, get out there, let's fire this up. And the atmosphere is going to be great tonight. What is that? A barcode for what?
It's a QR code. It's a sign. We'll be carrying it around there.
What does it do? Take people to the YouTube channel?
Yeah, exactly.
The CTO at it again.
We'll be carrying it. We'll put in this one up against the glass.
At it again. Yeah, exactly, Johnny Bender. Let's get some Macarena tonight. We all have to do the Macarena if Velarde scores. I think that is going to be that'll be a viral moment from the WST crew tonight. So those of you that are watching on YouTube, you can hit that QR code. It will take you to where you are right now. It'll probably have a better use when we're actually at the game. But yeah, listen, this is going to be great. Thanks again to everyone that jumped on board for this. I think these are going to be 4 really fun nights. I'm looking forward to seeing you all there tonight. And as I say, let's bring it. And a special thanks to a number of folks at the Jets that have helped us sort of pull this off. I mean, Dorian, as well as Emily, Christina, who we started the whole thing out with. I mean, really appreciate them. Kind of, helping us make something like this happen. So get ready, gang. We'll see you in 2.5 hours down at the Whiskey Hangar outside of section 316. Thanks again to everyone that jumped on it. We will see you tonight. Looking forward to a great game and looking forward to a big show tomorrow. We'll have a full breakdown of tonight's game, and Murat is going to join us. I'm really looking forward to having Murat on, both to talk about his piece on Pierre-Luc Dubois, Columbus, Winnipeg, now LA, and obviously a big game tonight to chop it up with him tomorrow. So if we don't see you tonight at the game, we will definitely see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Shout out to the podcast listeners and all of you for making us a part of your day. Enjoy it tonight. And we'll see you tomorrow right here on WST.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.